Welcome to the Mays MasterCast. I'm your host, Ben Wiggins. It is a beautiful day in Aggieland, and we have a nice change of pace for you today. We are speaking with two freshman undergrads from Mays, two very bright young men with equally bright futures. They are both part of PrEP, a freshman leadership organization that aims to help incoming freshmen transition into A&M socially while also helping them develop their professional skills. Mukund Josyula, aka MJ, was born in the Milwaukee area. At age 9, his family moved to Sugar Land, Texas, which is where he spent his formative years. Currently a freshman at Mays, he is hoping to pursue a degree in finance. On campus, he's involved with PrEP, Delta Sigma Pi, a professional business fraternity, as the VP of Community Service, and the Aggie Investment Club. Last fall during school, he worked part-time at a startup called SpaceEpt as a strategy analyst, and this spring he's currently interning at Workiva, a SaaS company, on their operations team. Joaquin Lugo is a freshman student as well. He grew up in Nayarit, Mexico, a small central state on the Pacific Ocean, and moved to San Antonio, Texas in 2012. He attended Basis San Antonio Shavano High School in San Antonio and is now a business honors double major, thinking of going into finance at Mays Business School. He is involved in PrEP as well as the Business Honors Recruiting Committee. Let's roll. We welcome Joaquin and MJ to the show. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming to speak with us.
Thanks for having us.
No, very happy to be here.
Did you guys have good weekends?
Yes, I had a great weekend because it was the first weekend where I had nothing to do. So it was it was definitely very relaxing after, being constantly just doing event after event. Yes, spring. On the move. Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of the opposite for me. I had a lot of stuff to do. Going to Germany next weekend. So this last weekend, I'm just packing for everything. So I was kind of just scrambling around, trying to get everything packed, just make sure I don't forget anything really.
What part of Germany are you going to?
Bavaria, probably drive up to Switzerland as well. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, of course. MJ, I'll send this question to you first. Sure. Can you talk a little bit about what motivated you to come to Texas A&M?
Mm-hmm. So I think above all things, it was definitely proximity to home. I wanted to be able to drive home whenever I wanted to, be close with my parents. I'm the only child, and I felt like, they'd like to have me around, not too far away. I didn't want to take a flight every time I went. And then just between Texas schools, I was like Texas A&M, the Aggie network, of course. I think that's really the main draw. That's what really pulled me here, to be honest. I feel like just having a group of people that you can count on is really important to me. And I felt like the Aggie network had me covered for that. And I just really appreciate the Aggie spirit, to be honest. It was football, everything. I was like, I want to go to college, have a good time for 4 years. I'm going to come to A&M.
SEC. Joaquin, what about you?
Fitting off a little bit on the Aggie spirit, I used to work at a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. And when I was a junior and senior in my college admissions process, I remember I would ask anybody who wore any type of sweatshirt or had any card decal of any university what they thought about the university, or if they went to that university and what they majored in, just to get a sense of what the students think about the school. And without a doubt, 9 times out of 10, if it was someone from A&M, they would get rowdy in their response, and they would be super excited to talk about how their experience was like nothing else. Yeah. And just from conversations and 2-minute conversations in the drive-thru, they would already be offering their services by giving me their phone number, just offering to reach out or help out in whatever way they could. Or if I had any questions, needed a place to stay in College Station. And I was just taken aback a little bit by the amount of attention and selflessness and just how vulnerable the Aggies get with you, even when you're just a high schooler. And I think that's a lot that is something really valuable, especially because I also grew up around one of my best friends growing up, a really red tail family. And just the way that they kind of took me in. My parents are not really familiar with the U.S. school system, so I really got to lean on them as kind of a support system for me and my second parents growing up in middle school and some high school. And I mean, his dad is Edward Allred. He was actually a Yell leader. I remember picking up one of his picture frames of the Yell leaders. Yeah. And I was like, what is these guys look kind of funny. And I remember making fun of it, and Miss Allred said something along the lines of, oh, well, if you go to A&M, you're going to respect those guys a lot. You're going to look up to those guys. And I mean, obviously I'm here now, and I mean, being a Yale leader is obviously a really big deal. So, but just I just seeing how Aggies were after A&M and the way they carried themselves, like, definitely played a big role in me looking for a community here.
So if you're driving through at Chick-fil-A and somebody asks you where you go to school, what would you say? How would you, given kind of how this whole thing has come full circle, you're a student here now, what would you want to say about the university?
Yeah, so actually this past winter break, I did go back to Chick-fil-A to, get in a few more hours, and I would just, match that excitement. And obviously now, like, the people from UT still come to the drive-through, and I have to, drop my college act. But I get really excited. I just talk about, like, things on campus, or if it's a current student, like, oh, where did you live, or what are you majoring in? If it's a former student, like, oh, what was your favorite memory? Like, but now I get to relate to that person if they're an Aggie.
Okay.
So I mean, I obviously, like, embodying the Aggie spirit is also something you have to do. Now it's my turn to do it, right? So I just have to show my selflessness as an Aggie now that I get the opportunity to.
Right. Let's talk about how your backgrounds brought you through to the educational place where you are now. MJ, what do you think led to you making the educational choices that you've made so far, and how are you thinking about that process?
I would say for the most part, just again, being close to Texas A&M was like kind of the deciding factor. But in addition to that, up till like kind of before COVID hit, I was very much go with the flow kind of guy. I was like, I'll go wherever, life takes me. I'll apply to like everywhere. I'll just like go. It's not a big deal. I'll figure out my major. It's not a big deal. But then when COVID hit, I had so much time to just think. And I think that was the thing. I was just thinking about myself, and like that was something I wouldn't really do a lot before COVID.
Right.
And just having like so many extra hours a day just thinking, I was like, let me just do some research instead. And I realized there was things I didn't want to do in life. There's things I wanted to do in life. And to do things I wanted to do in life, I had to like put in the work right now. And that was kind of what led me to like look more seriously into colleges around me and see if college was a decision for me. If that was really something I wanted to do something else. And at the end of the day, as with my parents' influence as well, I think they also influenced me to go to college as well. And just putting all those things together, I was like, okay, Texas A&M is probably the place I want to go. And we had a couple family friends go here as well, and they were doing great things in life. And I was like, I want to do that. Maybe not the exact same thing, but similar things. And I just wanted the resources to be able to do that, because I knew no one can do the work for you and actually push you through, but you can at least find the resources, find the help, and do what you need to do with your life. And I think just having that control was a reason I came here, because I felt like I controlled what I wanted to do here versus going to some other school where it's like you're very much following their program. And I just felt like I have so much more time here, do what I wanted outside of school as well. So I think that was one of the biggest things for me.
And how are you exercising that control? Like, how are you exercising that agency? What since enrolling here, what do you think, what have you changed your mind about? What has borne out in terms of your expectations, and what has not been what you expected?
So I think the biggest thing was I wanted to start working during college, especially. I was always thinking maybe, just focus on school, try to get all the knowledge you can, and then, kind of work your way out. But I was kind of interested in, working at a startup this fall. And I just really wanted to get that experience also while going to college. And I felt the two kind of did go together. There were certain things I would learn in Business 101 that were like kind of just like thrown at me in like the startup I was working at, SpaceApp. And I felt like just a lot of the things, just work together. And I felt like I couldn't do this in another school where I wouldn't have this much freedom. Also doing like other extracurricular activities like prep or DSP, a Delta Sigma Pi, like a business fraternity I'm in. I feel like all those things wouldn't be possible if I was at other schools, because I would be a lot more consumed with schoolwork and everything and just their program. And I think the value add from a lot of these things you do outside of school, it can be greater sometimes. And that's what I felt during kind of my first semester of classes, was that the gen eds, I wasn't like learning too much that I wanted to. I was not going to lie, I was kind of feeling like deprived of knowledge, to be honest. And that's why I wanted to start working. I wanted to start doing things outside of school. And I think that's what really motivated me to do stuff. And right now I'm still working. and eat 20 hours a week. And it's hard to balance the two, but I feel like I'm learning a lot just trying to balance it too. Like I'll see my friends, having fun, doing their own thing. And I'd like to do that as well. And so I try to do that, try to work, try to go to school, do extracurriculars, just try to keep everything in line and, keep my sanity as well. I think just being able to do that and being trying to do that is really just built my character up.
Joaquin, how have you handled the transition from, all right, I know this is where I want to go to school. Now I'm here. How are you processing all of that?
Well, I have a lot of experience with a lot of change, just from, moving to another country and adapting to a new language and new culture. So it was something similar to that for sure. Although this time I was doing it by myself. So that was the biggest change for me. But I think it was a great opportunity just because it's something that we all have to go through, and just stepping out of the comfort zone is such a big deal for me. So like something I like really push myself to do, because every single time I've stepped out of my comfort zone, like I've not only grown, but, benefited from it in a way. Mm-hmm. And going back to what MJ was saying, like I feel like there is a lot of pressure here sometimes as a freshman, just naturally to, live in the present and, enjoy your relationships, which you are supposed to for sure, and find that balance. But one of my strengths, after taking like the Clifton Strengths Assessment, was futuristic. And I feel like our weaknesses sometimes are not our strengths, but are the shadows of our strengths. And so for being futuristic, sometimes doesn't let me like stay in the moment, like stay present, enjoy the time that I have. And so that's something I really had to, embrace and make sure I had in mind throughout my first semester of college. Just because I am doing a lot of great things for my future, but there is a lot of value and a lot of intangible memories and relationships that could be much more valuable if you really pay attention to them and if you really invest in them. Mm-hmm. And so it's been awesome because I've had a great support system here at A&M, and A&M has just delivered with the community aspect of what I was looking for, way beyond my expectations. So I think that just, not only like the Aggie network, part of it, my own network as well of like great relationships. And I'm just really grateful for that reason as well. And I think that A&M, just opportunity after opportunity has come up with me. And I'm someone who does look for opportunities wherever I can. That aspect of my futuristic mindset is like satisfied like well enough to where I can still, like build relationships with people like MJ, who I met through an organization, or, have the opportunity to be on this podcast even just by putting myself out there. So it just really like means a lot to, have the life happens for you, not to you type mindset here at A&M, because it really goes a long way.
Yeah, that's, I think that's a really wise way of looking at it. And I would say you guys' generation is so much more polished than my generation was when it comes to availing yourselves of all opportunities and just kind of always keeping your head on a swivel in terms of what may be out there and what else you can leverage. The other side of that coin, though, is Joaquin, you mentioned sort of the pressure to take advantage of these opportunities. And how do the two of you deal with, because all of our lives are on a stage now to some degree or another, there's that, I feel like, especially as younger people dealing with that, for somebody my age, I think that the effect is not as severe. But for you guys, how do you deal with the pressure to go succeed in a variety of different avenues? How do you find time for yourselves to just decompress, to do stuff that doesn't necessarily have any value? Like I feel like there's sort of this press for all of our time to be productive time. And how do you two deal with that?
I guess I can go. It's funny that you say this. So my mom would always say when I'm watching TV, it's like, why are you wasting your time? And I was like, why is this a waste of my time? I'd say, because I like doing it. It's fun for me. I feel like I'm getting something out of it, even if it's not money or like prestige or something, right?
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is just having the clarity of what you want from life. Obviously, I don't have that all figured out right now. I would be lying if I said I did.
Sure.
I would say just trying to have a clarity of what you want in life and just always working towards that can honestly take a lot off the plate. What I felt like I was doing a lot during high school was, my life was on a stage. I was doing everything for college, trying to get in, trying to please everyone around me, my parents, family, friends, principals, everything. You know what I mean? And I felt like I wasn't living life to what I wanted to do, and just doing things I wanted to do was, I think, the main thing that helped me decompress. Just finding that healthy balance between putting yourself out there, not in your comfort zone, and doing things you like. I think just trying to figuring yourself out is probably 90% of what I felt would help me succeed in life. And just defining your own success as well. You don't want to define your success based on what your parents want, based on what everyone else around you want. I think just defining your success, working towards that, and kind of just tunnel visioning through does kind of help to a great extent.
How does that play with your concert history? You've told a story about that previously. Can you share a little bit of that detail with us?
Yeah. So for just some context, I do play Indian classical violin. I still do. And during high school and middle school, I would have programs almost every other week in different cities around Texas, even out of Texas. And it was honestly a lot of fun for me at the time. I felt like I was doing something I really liked. I felt like I was gaining something out of it. My parents were happy. I think that was one of the biggest things. I did like pleasing my parents to some extent, because they'd done a lot for me, and I felt like I did have to do something for them as well.
Sure.
But it was also something good for me. I think I developed a lot of music knowledge, a lot of just connecting with people, just different people around the country, right? So, but then again, it was during COVID. I know I go back to this a lot, but that's when I had a lot of my realizations. And during COVID, everything went online, obviously, and I tried to, kind of transition as well. So I would do these online concerts. I created a studio in my media room. It's got a bunch of mics. I started recording songs, putting them on YouTube, giving out concerts to other organizations that just wanted to put them on their Facebook pages. And it was all great, but I just realized I'm missing the key aspects of what I liked about violin. It was meeting the people. Interacting with the audience was a big thing, because you couldn't do that over a video camera. You're just staring at it, and it was what am I doing? Meeting new artists everywhere I go, having fun experiences with people I stay with. And I realized I'm not getting any of this online. And to this day, there's not many in-person, concerts for Indian classical violin. And one thing I realized is, if I'm not getting all of that, why am I doing it? Why was I doing it? To please my parents, to please everyone around me, to my mom tells me this all the time. I have the talent. You're wasting the talent if you're not doing something with it. And my thing is, I just kind of want to wait till everything's back in person, where we have those experiences again. And it comes back to that. I want to do what I think makes me happy and what I want to do. That's basically it. So I kind of took a break from that for a little bit, and I still practice. I want to keep the touch with violin as well. And I still listen to a lot of music, but I've definitely lessened performances and try to focus on other aspects of my life. I kind of felt like I was not throwing away, but kind of looking at my career with a bit less focus during high school, just because I was really involved with violin. And one thing I did coming here at the business school was okay, I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to start doing things that are proactive in the sense, a lot of freshmen, I feel like they're okay, just wait till junior year. We'll get that internship later. But I feel like just doing things right now and just having fun while you're doing it and getting these experiences, I think, is what you can do. And that's what I like to do. I'm not saying everyone should, but that's what I define as my success and what I like to do. And it honestly helps me decompress as well. Just knowing I'm doing what I want in life and not what someone else wants from me.
Joaquin, how do you deal with pressure? The message from everyone you talk to, I feel like there's this kind of clarion call, don't waste the gift, kind of like you were saying. But there's a balance between that and sort of losing your soul, so to speak, and just becoming, a robot, like a success robot. How do you deal with that?
I don't think I could speak enough to the importance of the people around you and your support system. So a lot of my closest people, my closest friends that I hang out with daily are not business majors. They're in other studies. And I think that kind of keeps me grounded. on a way. Just the people I grew up around with in high school, like we all have different interests, and it's comforting in that way. But there's also like, there is that importance to, looking out for your future in the most unironic way possible. I find a lot of wisdom in Matthew McConaughey. And I was, I ran into this soundbite of Matthew McConaughey giving advice to the class of the 2025 class for UT, because he's a Longhorn. And he said that whatever you do over these next 4 years will be compounded for the rest of your life. And the way he put it really spoke to me, because I find it very true. I find that whatever, relationships we build, whatever opportunities we capitalize on, whatever way we, expose ourselves to learn and grow here will be compounded for the rest of our lives, just by the way we get started when we leave here, And so I think that's something that there is a balance of through my support system and the people around me. But obviously, like there is something that we are like chasing here in a way. Like we are looking for that growth. And I mean, like next year, like I'm in a room with MJ, and we're kind of like in the similar interest in terms of like business and possibly the same major study. But I mean, I think there is also like so much great perspective from people in other areas, don't kind of like surround yourself in this box of perspective and opinion, because I think that just having the people around you makes such a big difference in terms of who you are, because you are the average of the five people you surround yourself with, right? So another soundbite, but just that's I, honestly, like I am so grateful to have the business community here at Mays, because they also have like they also provide in a way some of that same comfort. One of the things I most liked about Mays when I came to a recruiting visit was that they really emphasized how it was a collaborative environment and how it was, because that's how it is in the business world. In an office and a corporation, you're working together to achieve something. And that was that was a big thing compared to like other business schools I was applying with. It was very competitive. Some of them even ranked. And it was, I came from a small high school based in Chavano in San Antonio, and it's a small charter school system, and it works really well. There's a lot of attention on the student. And coming to A&M, I was very much blessed with having the opportunity to join the business honors program. And so during this visit with Miss Morley, the business honors coordinator, that's something that really came off to me, as she like really represented what Mays was trying to do. She understood the bigger theme. And so just the business honors community has been amazing. It kind of has provided me that like small school comfort, and while also having the big school like A&M network. But I'm very grateful, because there is that sense of community and accountability with each other, and just like the collaborative environment in Mays as a whole. Like we are trying to make great leaders, and I think that there is an aura to the way that all the professors and like everybody carries himself around here, working towards that goal. And that's a big reason why a lot of people outside of A&M, like employers, really see something different in Aggies. Like there is that intangible soft skill that a lot of these Aggies have. Because me and MJ were talking about it before. You could have all the expertise, all the knowledge, but there is sort of this like intangible way and forgotten way to do business and to interact with people. And so just keeping it simple in that way, just the little things go a long way for a lot of people. And I think Aggies are the best at, knowing that and keeping that in check.
Yeah, I think there's definitely value to thinking of as many environments as possible as collaborative ones, even out in the business space. When you get out into the world and businesses are competing with each other, I think that one of the places that we have not captured enough value as a society yet is encouraging businesses, even that are in competition with each other, to collaborate. And especially as As markets fragment, I think when businesses share information, so often there are ways for everyone to win. And business should not be zero sum. And I think too often we have a tendency to think of it that way. Let's talk about how you two met. What's the origin story for you as a pair?
I guess we're trying to figure that out earlier, to be honest. I mean, I felt like I've known this guy for like my entire life. I feel like that's how close I am with him.
Yeah.
But I think the first time we met was we were playing volleyball for a prep event down at White Creek. It was just like,
And this is Prep, the organization you guys are a part of.
Yeah. So we joined the same freshman leadership organization here at A&M. That's something that a lot of Aggies really recommended to do. Just get on top of it, join an org, and try to join a flow, which is a freshman leadership organization if you can. Just because there is that it is a big way that a lot of people find community here at A&M.
Yeah.
And like rightly so. I mean, I found MJ through prep, and I remember we were at a White Creek, just like we were playing sand volleyball, and I lived in the South Side, which is on the opposite side of campus, and I needed to be somewhere, and honestly might have been just for the convenience, but I asked MJ because he just seemed really, really cool, and we were like on the same team, and he was just really
little
easy.
Did you know?
Yeah, little did I know. Little did I know we're gonna be a little bit of a twin duo. But I asked him, after talking to him, he was really easy to talk to, and he gave me a ride home, and I mean from there it was just he was a familiar face, like he was a day one. He was a day one, and
you'd go to every prep event, say, dap him up, hey, what's up, Joaquin?
Yeah, sit together at the meetings, And I mean, now that we have this venture, we've kind of gotten to know each other even more. And obviously, I mean, we're living together next year, so that's a big step for sure. And I'm just happy to have someone that we can kind of go through this journey together in a similar way, because we are like-minded in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so that's really comforting.
What's different about you two's perspectives? Where do you feel like you two not necessarily disagree, but where your approaches are different?
I'd say Joaquin, I kind of admire this about him. He's more of like a people person. Like at the end of the day, like he knows how to work with people. I think that's the biggest strength he has, at least that I recognize. His experience at Chick-fil-A, just training people. I feel like he's learned so much, and I think he's a really humble guy. And I feel like I can kind of be a little bit opposite. Like that's definitely something I'm trying to work on, just like being more genuine with people. And I think coming to A&M was like honestly the biggest step I could take to doing that. I feel like through programs here, like I just went to the Summit conference earlier, a couple weeks ago, and just the vulnerability, just the amount of it that I saw there, and it was honestly mind-blowing. I talked to people about like my deepest fears, my deepest concerns, my like deepest experiences, and like I've known them for a day, and I felt like I trusted them because they were all Aggies. They were all here with like good faith, and that was one thing I really just took away from that.
One of the things I really like about MJ that, not that I don't like have, but he's so good at, is discipline and getting out of his own way. Because I think another like shadow weakness of being so selfless and so having a lot of empathy is that sometimes you have too much empathy and sometimes you care too much. And MJ is so good at, staying in his lane. And that's something that I could work on for sure in a way. And it's something that he brings me to, because MJ has a lot of experiences, not only academically, but also like, extracurricular wise. We are in the same org, but MJ is in a co-ed business fraternity. He's in a investing club. He, he's been in, he has an internship. He had an internship and he has another one lined up. I think that one of the things I really like about MJ is he gets out of his own way. He doesn't care that he was a 17-year-old intern. He wants to put himself out there. And that's something that's great. That kind of pushes you towards where you want to be. Like you need people that push you around in a good way for your best self.
Yes. Yes.
I think the synergy is gonna this is, I think, just the reason, I think it's gonna work really well. I think we push each other to the max in different aspects of life. And I feel like that's just the biggest value add.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next for the two of you? What do you see as the most important next step?
I have a lot of faith in Mays. I have a lot of faith in the Mays Business School. So I think there's a lot of comfort in, having like going through the Mays program and knowing that whatever happens, like you graduate from Mays, like you have a high chance of placing somewhere that will set you up for the rest of your life. And that's the biggest thing for me. I want to do a lot of things, like in my professional career. I want to be in a lot of different industries. I just want to put myself out there. I don't want to stick to one thing. And one thing that I want to do after college is just get started. So I think that's something that Mays is really good at. It's just put you somewhere where you have the opportunity to grow and kick off your career. And so that's my thing moving forward. And kind of in a like together aspect of that, I feel like we have this great opportunity to shadow your company, Podcast Architects, because I feel like a lot of the knowledge we're looking for, you have to experience. A lot of the kind of the most valuable things that you could learn in our years right now is that entrepreneurial experience. The grits and the things that a lot of people don't know about business. And I think that's in a way as valuable as the, like tangible education of a degree. And that's just something I'm really looking forward to, because I feel like there is a lot of growth in that way for both of us, because obviously we have that opportunity together and it's something we're really serious about. And obviously it's Podcast Architects is like a media content related business and something we did a lot in high school. And so we're just really, honestly, we're really grateful to, get that started with. And just so moving forward, I think that obviously we're not committing ourselves entirely to this opportunity because we have that academic responsibility. But it's something that definitely will give us a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise as, just college undergrads. Because, and this is like channeling back to that like MJ, like get out of your own way type of thing. Like, why not? Like, why not? Let's do it. Like, let's get on. Let's get on top of this, because it could pay off so well whenever we do have to venture out for ourselves, and whenever we do have to, work for another company and eventually like own our own one day.
I'd say very, very similar to Joaquin. I think the beauty of college and life in general is like I think more specifically for college, you can waste these 4 years and still graduate out of Mays and do what you want. It'll take maybe a little more time. Maybe you have to do a little more work later, but you can throw away these 4 years and do whatever you want. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to, throwing away these 4 years. Every semester, I've been kind of trying something different. First semester, I was working at Space Up, the startup. It wasn't my flow. And then right now I'm working at Workiva. It's more the corporate vibe, and it's also not my flow. Yeah. So, next fall I'm working to work with you at Podcast Architects and see how that goes. And I'm just trying to get as many experiences as I can, because I know I can't do this after college. It just won't be feasible. I won't have my food taken care of. I won't have my housing taken care of. I'll have other priorities in life. And this is the best time I have to do whatever I want in life and see what I want. I would totally regret life if I didn't try everything I wanted to. If I didn't work at Space Step, I would have regretted, I could have worked at this like startup. It would have been so cool. I'd have been tech bro in Silicon Valley. It's like all that. It's like, no, it's really not that glamorous. You got to put in the work. And if you don't like the work, you're not going to like it. If you don't like the work, it's not worth it to you. And there's no point in doing it. And I just learned so many lessons doing all these different experiences. And like, I'm so excited to learn all these new lessons working with you. And I feel like just doing all these types of different things is the best way you can set yourself up in life. I think this goes back to the old, Greek or Roman way of living. It would be like, okay, you study when you're young, go to the army when you're, in your teens and like 20s. And then after that, you would open up a business as a young adult, and then you would eventually become a philosopher. And I felt like that kind of way of life is kind of something I want to do. I just want to try all aspects of life. I want to do everything I want to do and just try out different things. And maybe content creation is something I want to do, and I'll just keep doing that if I really love it that much, or I'll do something else in life. And I think just opening yourself up and not like closing yourself to one opportunity. And kind of like Joaquin said, is the biggest thing I'm looking forward to, and what I try to keep in mind. Like, I don't want to be comfortable. Okay, this job is nice, they pay well, it works for my future. Like, no, that's not the mindset I would like to have. I want to see, okay, what's next? What can I do more? What can I do more with my life? And in the context of for yourself, like, if you are truly happy where you are, just kind of capitalize on that, compound your effort into one thing and grow a lot. But if you don't like it, what's the point in doing all of that? Just try something else. And I think that's just been the biggest thing I've been doing is, if you don't like it, don't waste your time, move on, do something else, because your time on earth is limited, obviously, and your time in college is limited. And these 4 years are like just gold. You can do so much. If you don't want to do anything, that's up to you. But
will be compounded.
I'm going to throw away these 4 years and do whatever I want.
Yeah. I think there's so much value to the idea. Living life is like reading books in a way. I think that there is a lot of pressure to, especially as business people, like you have to read all of this stuff. You have to read this book and this book and this book and that book. And I think that we should feel very free to put books down to start. And then if we don't like it, just not finish it. And I think life is the same way. Like, try a bunch of stuff and understand that most of it probably won't work for you. But if you're not really putting yourself out there, as both of you have said, and just trying a little bit of everything, then you're missing opportunities. And not all of that, as you both have also pointed out, not all of it has to be, the stuff that people admire and respect, the stuff that makes people impressed. Oh, you're doing that. Like, it doesn't all have to be that kind of stuff. It can be stuff that you're trying just because you think you might enjoy it. Like, that's as good a reason as any to do anything. And so, but also understanding that in anything, most of the stuff you try is not going to be the right fit for one reason or another, but that's not a reason not to do it. It's because the stuff that does work out often works out so well that it makes all of the time that you sacrificed on things that didn't end up being the right fit, all of that is worth it in the end. So I really appreciate the wisdom you guys are bringing to this process. You two are so much farther along than I was at your age. I'm fascinated by the cultural constructs that have brought us to this place, and, where we'll go in the 20 years after this, as all of us are talking to students down the road and hearing, all the ways that society has equipped them even better than we have been.
Yeah, just to add on to what you were saying earlier, I feel like your podcast itself I've learned so many lessons through it. I think that's what's kind of helped us develop as well. Just being able to listen to other people's perspectives through this content creation is
for sure
where a lot of value is.
Like, do I have time to just appreciate the podcast for a little bit, or like give my story about?
I'm not going to say no to that.
Okay. So I had a business honors recruiting meeting last March, a year ago. And I had it with Miss Christine Morley, the coordinator of the Business Honors Program. And I remember we walked by the screen and there was a big, like, on Apple Podcasts, the Mays MasterCast, like, screen. And I was like, whoa, like, y'all have a podcast? Like, that's cool. And one of the students that was in the tour said, oh, yeah, like, you should listen to it. Like, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, like, wherever you get your podcast from. And when I committed to A&M later in March, I started listening to the podcast. And over the summer, I would just listen to an episode a day, whether that be like driving to work or just playing basketball, walking the dogs. It became part of my day. And I just really liked it. I really liked it felt like I was tuning into the A&M community through the podcast and through Mays. And so I was a really big fan of the podcast. And it was I started from the bottom and went all the way up, and then eventually switched to the more recent episodes. And I remember Shannon Deere was a co-host for that podcast at the beginning.
Yeah.
And she was she gave us a welcome to Mays type of speech at our new student conference in July. And when she said, oh, I'm Shannon Deere, and I recognized the voice too. I was sitting in the second row, and I said, oh my God, that's Shannon Deere. Like, to me, to me, this was
Big celebrity.
like the co-host of the podcast I fell in love with over the summer. And so I remember going up to her and introducing myself and just saying, I'm such a big fan of the podcast. Like, I'm really grateful to like, get to meet you in person. And I said, now I need to find Ben. Like, now I need to find Ben Wiggins. And so I remember later on, like about a month later in August, we had August or September, we had a tech event. We had a tech event with like old Aggies who work in the tech space now, work for companies like Apple, or Hinge, just who that was a
Michael
podcast.
Kurt.
Yeah, exactly, a podcast episode as well. And I remember sitting there with a buddy, and I was sitting towards the back of this auditorium now, the same auditorium, and I remember you started speaking, and the voice just right away. I'd never seen a picture of you, and I was just like, I told my buddy Corbin, that's
the guy.
That's Ben Wiggins. And like you
guys are embarrassing me.
I know for you, like such a down to earth and such a mellow guy, like that probably seems like a lot, but for me it was I was in a way starstruck a little bit. And I remember telling Corbin, that's Ben Wiggins. Like, oh my god, I can't, like that's Ben Wiggins. And then he was like,
I don't know who that is.
Who is that? And I was like, Corbin, that's like the guy from the podcast, like Mays MasterCast. And about a month ago, which is when I did meet you in person, that same day, it was a Wednesday, I had to turn in a worksheet that was a get to know yourself kind of worksheet for a retreat that I was going to go to.
Sure.
And it was around noon when I turned in that worksheet. And one of the things it asked was, what's something you want to do before you graduate? And I put, I want to be on the Mays MasterCast. And then like, it was one of those like, God had his like hand on my life type of moments. Later that day, we go to our GCM, which is our prep meeting. Yeah. And we always have a speaker. And I see MJ just sitting in the front row. I was sitting second row. And MJ was sitting in the front row. And he was just stressed out. He was just stressing. He was just looking at his notes, like he was reading it over.
Give some context here. So over the break, LD, so in prep, we have different committees. So my committee is leadership development. And one of our responsibilities is to bring in speakers like you and other professionals to give us like insight, because we're all freshmen. We're all trying to learn. We're trying to gain some insight, right? So it's a great opportunity, a great platform for everyone. So I remember seeing the Joseph Escobar podcast that you had. And he's the president of AIC, the investment club I'm part of, and he's a great guy I look up to. Yeah. And he's like, can I get Ben Wiggins' information? I feel like he has so much to say. He's spoken to all these people. Like, why bring the speakers when you can bring the hosts? Like, he probably has a lot more knowledge and like, speaks really eloquently. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to bring him to prep. So I contacted you. You're grateful enough to come out and really, show up.
Absolutely.
I think you can take it from here.
No, and I just see, and he's like, oh, I'm going to introduce the speaker. And I was like, okay, cool. And I mean, I didn't recognize Ben Wiggins just because I only recognized his voice. And the one time I did see him, I was sitting way back in the auditorium. And so you went up to speak, and I said, and you started speaking, and obviously over the microphone, your voice sounds different than just, when you're just raw, just speaking to a crowd.
Thanks, Kyle.
And so you said, hey guys, like in your mellow way, hey guys, I'm Ben Wiggins. And I freaked out. I was no way. Like, you were right here. You were just a few feet away.
Yeah, I feel like I was joking. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's Ben Wiggins.
And I couldn't believe it, honestly. And you started talking, and like, I mean, your speech was awesome. Like, everybody was so engaged, and I found a lot of insight. Obviously, like, I'm a little bit biased, but I was just, I was really taken aback. And I remember I was waiting for your Q&A so I could ask you like the question you ask everybody. And I remember like when you opened up the Q&A, my hand was already eager to go up. If you could have a superpower, like what would it be? And everybody was kind of like, oh, Joaquin's just messing around. Like, right. Like he like this guy just like gave this like professional speech and like had everyone in awe. And you just, but you kind of saw what I was doing. And then after the meeting, we got to go up to you, and when you said, I was just telling you like this story and like how much of a fan I was, and you said, how would you like to be on the podcast? And like all my boys around me were like, what? On the podcast? And I could not believe it. It was insane. Not only because I did want to be on the podcast, and it would have been an amazing experience on its own, but because I sort of manifested it earlier that same day. Like it was surreal. It was surreal. And I mean, everything after that has been like awesome. Everything has been just something to be so grateful for.
Yeah. Anyone you guys would like to send some good bull?
I just want to send some good bull out to just my family, my immediate family, my parents and my brother, just because my parents literally gave up everything for me and my brother to come to the US and have the opportunity to have a better life, like as simple as it gets. And as hard as it was for me at the beginning to grab onto that, I'm just ever grateful to both my mom and my dad for bringing us out here. They literally gave up everything they ever knew, their whole careers, their comfort zone, their families, their friends. And I'm just really grateful that I'm here because of them. I think also the way they raised me, they never gave me the pressure to be someone here in this country, which kind of makes me want to be someone. And that's the reason, because they never put that pressure on me to, be successful and be there for the family, and just wanted me to be happy. And I think that's just something that I can never pay them back for. And everything I do will be a reflection of their sacrifice. And to my brother too, because he's just my biggest supporter and the person who looks up to me the most. And like, he motivates me on daily, and there's not a person I love more and most in the world.
Beautiful. Yes, very similar to Joaquin. Shout out to my parents, I guess, doing everything they did. They also immigrated, probably not to the same extent as Joaquin's family, but a similar story. I guess shout out to my friend Sid. He goes to UT, but it's, Mays MasterCast, Oh, wrong camera. And then
Gig 'em, Sid. Gig 'em,
Sid. And then my roommate, so he's always been a great support for me. He's always there when I need him. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to send some good bull to prep. That's that evening when I came and spoke with you guys, that was a special one for me too. Like, it's not always like that. You go to talk to people, and sometimes the questions are good, sometimes the questions are maybe not as good. But everyone, it's kind of like you said, everyone was super dialed in. Everybody was super engaged. And as a speaker, you feed off of that as well. And the questions were just amazing. Like, everybody was thinking so carefully about it, and they just kept coming. And it was, I felt like, I don't know. I'm going to remember that one for a long time. So shouts to prep. Thanks everyone who came to that event and who asked questions and made it a really special night.
Yeah. So you're coming to A&M next year. Rush prep.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the plug. Thanks for coming on the show and talking about you guys' stories. I can't wait to see the chapters that are going to be written next. Really appreciate you both.
Yeah, really thanks for having us. It was a great experience.
Absolutely.
Honestly, yeah.
It was awesome. We'll be back.
Hopefully.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I think the most important takeaway from today is the idea that we are all ambassadors all the time. Joaquin mentioned what a powerful effect those personal conversations had on him working at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. Our excitement is contagious, and the same is true for our lack of excitement. If there's something you believe in, talk about it, share it. Think about what you'd want to say about it if asked. For our second takeaway, I was so impressed with how well these guys are striking the balance between taking well-reasoned advice and listening to themselves and their own hopes, desires, and preferences. It can be so easy to get sucked into achievement complex and to push our kids into achievement complex. There's nothing wrong with letting young people be young. Doesn't mean they have to be idiots. As we can plainly see from these two, our young people are doing just fine. Thanks. For our final takeaway, I really think the importance of a collaborative environment in business or academia cannot be overstated. To all go take risks together is really valuable. I think far too often there's a temptation to view a business landscape as a competitive landscape, as something zero-sum. Obviously, the statement a dollar can only be spent in one place is never true. A dollar can be spent a theoretically infinite number of times, and we are all on the same team much more than most businesses realize. And now a quote from Rilke to close us. Beware of general themes. Cling to those that your everyday life offers you. Write about your sorrows, your wishes, your passing thoughts, your belief in anything beautiful. Describe all that with fervent, quiet, and humble sincerity. Rainer Rilke. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Drop us a like below and feel free to leave a comment if you wish. We appreciate positivity and constructive feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes and bonus content. You can also take us on the road using your favorite podcast listening app. We have those linked below. If you'd like to know more about Mays Business School or our guests, visit mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Talk with you soon.